It's the beginning of July, and that means one thing here on my channel. It is Christmas in July craft time. In today's video, I'm going to make a tabletop Christmas tree using vintage and vintage-like ornaments. And for several years now, I've been doing various Christmas in July crafts and sharing them here on my YouTube channel. As a matter of fact, my very first video was making this wreath right here, which actually uses vintage ornaments. And this is going to provide the inspiration for my tabletop Christmas tree. But before we get into the video, for those of you that are new to my channel, hi, my name is Catherine, and I absolutely love decorating for the holidays. I also love fashion and beauty. So if you happen to love any, or maybe even all of those topics, then I hope you'll consider subscribing. Now let's get started with the supplies that I'll be using. The first supply is what we're going to use to create the tree shape, and it's a cone-shaped piece of foam. These come in various sizes. I'm using one that is 18 inches tall. The next is this pink ribbon, which I'm going to use to wrap around the foam, just in case you happen to see through any of the ornaments. You won't see through to the foam, you'll just see through to pink. Next up are the ornaments, and I'm expecting to use about 200. The star of the show are going to be these ornaments, which I did pick up used from a flea market. But I figure those aren't going to be enough to give that vintage look. So I did also pick up some vintage-inspired ornaments from Amazon, and they have a lot of different sets to choose from. And then since I do need so many ornaments on the tree, I don't need all of them to be kind of special ones. So I do just have a variety of less expensive ornaments in a variety of colors, textures, and sizes. And actually, some of these are the exact same ornaments that I used on my wreath, and so that's going to help them kind of pull together and look very similar. I am also going to set my tree on a base so it doesn't sit flat on table. It actually does look like it's sitting on a tree trunk. And for that, I'm just going to use this glass green candle holder that I'm going to affix to the bottom of the cone. And to attach the ornaments to the tree, I'm going to actually use greening pins, which are U-shaped pins that are going to allow me to not damage the ornaments by having to, say, glue them to the tree. This is the same technique I used for the wreath that I created. I will use a little bit of hot glue, however, and that's to attach the candle holder to my piece of foam. And last, I'm going to use this tool, which is actually like a nail cuticle pusher backer, to help push the pins in where my fingers might have a hard time reaching. This is just what I had handy, but you could definitely use pliers for this part as well. First up is to take my piece of foam and cover it with my pink ribbon. And to do this, I'm just going to start at the bottom and wrap this all the way around. To affix the ribbon to the foam, I'm just going to take one of my greening pins and I'm just going to push it in, and this will get covered up as I start putting balls on later. I do have all of the supplies, other than the pre-owned ornaments, linked down in the description box below. I'll also include the quantity so you can have an idea of how much you might need if you're making a similar sized tree. Too much with trying to keep the ribbon nice and flat and neat. We are going to cover this with balls after all. The point of this is just when you do see through in some random spots that you don't see that white of the foam. Next up, I'm going to glue my base for my tree, my candle holder, to the bottom just using hot glue. Now I'll leave this for a few minutes to dry while I get all of my ornaments organized and ready. I've got all of my ornaments laid out and a pile of greening pins ready to go. And so I'm just going to start attaching ornaments, working my way from the bottom up. I am going to use a couple of design principles when I do this. I do have some balls of different sizes, and so I am going to start with some of the bigger balls I expect to use on the tree around the bottom so that as I work my way up, the ornaments get smaller. That doesn't mean I won't use some small ornaments down on the bottom as well, but I definitely want the bigger ones to be down there. I'm also going to make sure that I'm mixing colors, textures, and shapes as I work my way around. I'm not going to try to be completely precise about this. I do want there to be a little bit of a randomness, but I will occasionally jump around from spot to spot to make sure I'm achieving that. And this is the biggest size ornament that I plan to use, and it's about a 2.5 inch ornament. And when I start at the bottom, I am going to start with the greening pin and kind of come down from the top And I'm going to push this in such that the bottom of the ball extends a little bit beneath the bottom of the foam so you don't see that edge. All of the larger balls that I'm going to use. Now I'm going to start filling in with some of my smaller balls, which are mostly in the 1.5 inch, and I have a few 1 inch, as well as some of my specialty ornaments. Once again, working my way from the bottom all the way up to the top of the tree. Greening pins give you the option to have a bit of movement. You'll notice that sometimes I'm moving some of the balls around as I'm placing, and so they may end up hanging a little bit differently than how I originally pinned them based on the other ornaments that I put around it. So far. Good thing most of these aren't glass. Good thing most of these aren't breakable. Some of these less expensive ones keep popping off the little caps. Not a problem, I'm just catching them and putting them right back on. One of the other things that I'm really liking is my vintage ornaments. Due to the shape, they are kind of sticking out with the little pointy end, and it almost looks like a piece of Chihuly sculpture. I don't know if you've ever seen Dale Chihuly's art glass, but I always love the pieces that he has, and that's kind of what this is reminding me of. using 193 ornaments, so that can give you an idea of how many ornaments it takes for at least an 18-inch tree. Obviously, that'll need to scale up or down based on the size of the tree that you might do. And here it is with the vintage wreath I made a few years back. I think they look very, very similar, even though the vintage ornaments themselves are completely different, but the filler or base ornaments are the same, and so therefore it helps tie the two together. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If so, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already, because you'll definitely want to check out the additional Christmas content I have coming this year. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas in July, and until next time, bye.